Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. We made it through the eclipses. Hallelujah. We're still in this eclipse window for another month as we complete this new lunar cycle that began on the 21st with the new moon in Virgo, a solar eclipse in Virgo. And we're going to be integrating this medicine over the next month, all through Libra season until we have the new moon in Libra. So the eclipse window opens a month before the first eclipse and closes a month after the last eclipse. And this is a pretty poignant time. If you have not listened to my last episode 117, I highly recommend going back and listening to that before you listen to this episode, because I'm not going to dive into the eclipse energy in this episode because I covered all of it last week. And it's a lot, and I kind of just want to work with the integration of it now. I want to focus on what we're tending in order to really sort of lean into the medicine of Libra as we turn the page, as we enter the Fall Equinox, as we turn the page to Libra season. There's a lot of medicine here. And although we'll still be working with the South Node in Virgo, the North Node in Pisces through 2027, the energy will begin to taper down. We'll begin to get an opportunity to really just sort of be with the integration of the lessons for the next 6 months until we have our next eclipse next spring. So this medicine will be here, but it's going to be deepening, softening, downloading into your body, into your psyche, into your lived experience. And I just want to note before I forget, if you keep hearing me talk about the lunar nodes and you're like, what are the lunar nodes? I have no idea what that means. I have no idea how to find my own personal lunar nodes. I don't know what they are. I highly recommend my course, Inner Compass. It is a self-guided course focused on the lunar nodes. And if you listen to this podcast often, you've probably heard me talk about my own personal lunar nodes and how transformative they've been and how helpful it has been to really, really, really understand their guidance, their medicine, what I'm here to work with in this lifetime. They've been so orienting for me. And even though I'm really deep in the medicine of them right now, I am so clear. And I'm so grateful that I have the wisdom that I do to really understand what these points in my chart are teaching me, because I believe that the lunar nodes kind of color and flavor every aspect of our chart. And when you can understand this one specific aspect, so many doors open for you to start having realizations about other parts of your chart. You start to understand this, really your karmic story here, why you're here in this lifetime, what you're here to move towards, what you're here to leave behind, your gifts, how you can work with them in a more embodied, aligned way. So my course, Inner Compass, I have it linked in the show notes. You can get 10% off just by being here, by being a podcast listener, because I love all of you so much. And yeah, that's just my little gift to you. So Inner Compass is open. You can access it. It's self-guided, so you can do it on your own time at the pace you like. I like to move slowly with courses because I like to digest things as I go, and it's going to be a guide for you. So you can reference this and come back to this throughout your life because it is something that lives and breathes and grows with you. It has a really in-depth workbook that comes with it that you can download and save to your computer and just have on hand when you're working through something in therapy or when something's coming up in your life, the pattern that you've been, just moving through for so long, or maybe a new pattern's coming up. Referencing that workbook can be so helpful because it really gives you a very clear understanding of why you're navigating this, why the pattern is there, and also the pathway to break out of it, to find the new way. I also like to mention this too. If you are a practitioner, you work with clients, having this course can be incredibly helpful because you can understand more clearly why they're doing what they're doing, why the patterns are there, how you can work with them to really sort of unlock a new way of showing up, decoding some of these patterns and these programs and habits. So I'm linking Inner Compass in the show notes. It's a great guide. And thank you for being here. So we have this pretty climactic new moon in Virgo, solar eclipse in Virgo at 29 degrees on September 21st. And then we very quickly turn the page. I talked a lot about it in the last episode, really the last 3 episodes, how we have this Virgo season bookended by eclipses. We had one at 0 degrees. By new moons. So we had a new moon at 0 degrees on the 22nd and 23rd of August. And on the 21st of September, we have a new moon at 29 degrees. So we have been through a pretty intense karmic journey over the last month, and we need a place to land. We need a place to kind of just rest and integrate and settle and start to maybe gain a little clarity around what we just experienced and what wants to be brought forward, moving forward, what needs to be left in the past. So right after the solar eclipse in Virgo, we have on the 22nd, September 22nd, the sun enters Libra, and we have the fall equinox. That same day, Mars also enters one of its happy places, Scorpio. On September 23rd, we have the sun opposite Neptune, trine Uranus. And on the 24th, we have the sun trine Pluto. So the sun's going to begin interacting with some of these outer planets towards middle week. And that's going to provide some different insight, a different perspective. The outer planets are zoomed out, bigger life themes, bigger collective themes. And they can be really helpful sometimes in understanding some of the minutia. When we're in these experiences, things can kind of get quite small. We can sometimes struggle to sort of like zoom out and really understand what's happening and why. And those are more of the inner planet interactions, the sun, the moon, Venus, Mercury, Mars. And we can kind of get lost in that sometimes. We're in the day-to-day, we're in the grind, we are just moving. And that is why eclipses can be really helpful, because it is a big realignment, and sometimes we're forced into things without even having the choice. So if something happened over the last month that felt sort of fated, or it felt like you didn't have a choice, or it happened, quote unquote, to you, there's a big chance that it's happening for you. And that's because that's what eclipses do. They bring things in and out. They kind of push us back into alignment, sort of like a chiropractic adjustment. And I think what this week is going to provide is a little bit of space, maybe some clarity, maybe some realizations, maybe a different perspective. Maybe you start to see why it unfolded in the way it did over the last month. And Mars is entering Scorpio, which is quite an intense place for it to be. but it's also sort of a breakthrough energy. It can feel deep and penetrating and powerful. So we have some support here. The Sun trine Pluto is going to crack open the underworld. So you might have a realization come through this week that is shocking or confronting or might feel sudden, especially with the Sun trine Uranus as well and opposite Neptune. There's some pushy energy here, but what these outer planets can do is they can sometimes pull us out of the chaos or the daily funnel tunnel vision and give us a new perspective, give us a zoomed out perspective. And so that's my feelings for this week, is that we're going to get some new perspective. And that should feel nice because we've just been in it, sort of tending the physical in that very daily, step by step, minute by minute Virgo essence. I don't know about you, but I have been having to really sort of slow everything down, be with what is in the moment, meet what's coming up for me in the moment, sort of shift my day depending on what I'm experiencing in my body, just because I've been going through such a huge reset. And it's been really needed. I've needed this space to really understand this feels good, this doesn't. This needs to be cleared out. This has to change. And this 29-degree eclipse is all about endings and beginnings. It's very karmic. It's the anaretic degree, so it's the last degree of Virgo. It is a completion. It's an ending, but it's already opening to a new beginning. So new moons typically are tied to new beginnings, but with this one being conjunct the South Node and at 29 degrees, it is so much about endings. And these eclipses have really stripped away what's unsustainable, what isn't working. As we move into Libra season and the equinox, this is going to help us rebalance, recalibrate, meet these new edges that we've discovered, meet these new conditions, because our capacity is being stretched. Our nervous systems are what filter life. So what we intake gets filtered through our nervous system. It gets filtered through our capacity. And we need a big capacity to be able to meet the world in the way it's changing. It's asking for us to build more capacity, to stretch our capacity, to stretch our ability to hold more nuance, more expansion, more change, more chaos, more uncertainty, more of the unknown. We need a strong vessel, a strong digestive system, a strong nervous system to be able to process this and hold it. I was just speaking with a friend and we were talking about how clear this divide is right now. The polarity is increasing. The separation between the poles is pulling more and more. So even collectively, we're being stretched. And both poles basically want the same thing. They want freedom. They want rights. They want their values to be acknowledged. But they go about it in different ways. And what's interesting is what we're seeing happen now with censorship and canceling is what we saw in the 2020, 2021, 2022. They've just been flipped. And so if you think that something is happening now that is unprecedented, that has never happened before, I encourage you to look deeper. If you think that someone is your enemy, if your neighbor is your enemy because they believe differently than you or they belong to a different political party, these constructs that we've made, I encourage you to look deeper. Our enemy is not the other person on the other side, on the pole. That's not the enemy. But there is this external force that's sort of pulling us apart so much so that we have no choice but to look at the other side as the enemy. So when this happens, there's no option but for a middle wave to come through. And I think in some ways that is what is happening. That's why it's designed this way, is so we can actually feel a grounded, practical, regulated middle space wave to come through to balance the extremes. We're seeing such extremism on both sides. And that's what gets projected. That's what goes on the media because that's what sells. But there's this really strong, perhaps even quiet middle ground space where people are taking the time to do research, where people are regulating themselves before responding, where people are open to dialogue, to nuance, to the fact that they might be wrong. This is Libra's medicine. And we need this rebalancing after feeling the extreme tension of so much chaos, so much uncertainty, so much pushing up against the edges. But it takes nervous system resilience to hold that middle space, and that's why we're being stretched. We can either choose to kind of go back into our little echo chamber on the right or on the left and feel safe and just surround ourselves with people that believe and think the same things, but that's not growth. Growth comes from being uncomfortable and breathing through it and meeting it. And I'm not saying that's easy. I'm not saying that you have to do that all on your own. It requires support. And sometimes you're the other person supporting that person and being in the discomfort and sort of challenging them when you see something that's rooted in fear. We are being, like I said, so stretched right now. I've been through a massive ego death over the last month. It's been fast and intense. And I mean, I'm still in it to some degree because I know that I'm meeting my edges and I know I need to stretch more and hold more and build more capacity and resilience to meet what's coming. I went through a really big advanced somatic practitioner training earlier this year. And meeting this initiation has been huge because I have had to meet parts of myself that I didn't even know was there. And this is where we are, each individually, sitting with our edges. We're having to witness firsthand the expansion available to us when we allow it. But that requires that we meet the edges or the fear that we hold around meeting that expansion. I'm learning wild things firsthand about the body and mind's capacity to heal, to grow, to expand, how it all communicates, and how psychic we really truly are, especially when we are in the body. And the South Node in Virgo has been teaching us that we need practices to tend the physical, the vessel, so that we can loosen our grip and actually trust this unknown space. We are meeting the edges collectively too. We've never been here at this exact place before. We've been in similar places through revolutions, through Renaissance, through different golden ages, but not quite like this. And we get to meet it in a different way. So we are at the karmic closeout of Virgo season, the anaretic degree, the eclipse we had on the 21st. This completes the arc from the new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees on the 22nd and 23rd of August to this new moon in Virgo solar eclipse at 29 degrees on September 21st. Like I said, on the 22nd, the sun enters Libra and we have our fall equinox. And this means we're shifting from this focus on our internal purge, purification, discernment into relational balance, which is Libra. This is a big reset moment. How do we orient our lives in more harmony, fairness, reciprocity, balance? And the equinox, we have a fall and spring equinox. It means equal night. So it's a balance of light and dark, day and night. It's the threshold into autumn in the Northern Hemisphere, a time of harvest, integration, preparation for the descent into winter. This is a liminal portal. The veil thins as we shift seasons. It's a time to honor the cycles of death and rebirth, endings and beginnings. And this is a balance point where we meet this point of equal day and night before we begin to expand more into the underworld, more into the night, more into the darkness, the descent. And I always say Leo season is full of fun and adventure and heat and play. Virgo is sobering. What have you sobered to over the last month? What have you had to let go? What has been fragmented, rigid, or perfectionistic? It might have felt like an underworld journey or a purge or a journey into the deepest parts of you. And this equinox into Libra season is like stepping into the new season with fresh soil, cleared of weeds, ready for intentional planting. This time asks, what needs to come into balance after this purge? I think of it almost as, having a big stomach bug where you are just truly full surrendering to this bug. You can't eat anything. You can barely drink anything. You are purging. You are releasing. On the other side, what does it look like to start integrating back into life? What does it look like to begin testing foods again? You don't just jump into having, going out to dinner and having a burger. You slowly start to integrate foods. You start gentle. You move slowly. And that's what this time is about. It's sort of like you've cleared this space. How can you be incredibly discerning about what can be invited back in? Now that you have this new information, this new insight, how can you walk gently, move intentionally? Themes of this equinox: balance and reciprocity. Where are you giving too much or taking too much? What have you learned from this eclipse time? And how can you align your life in a more balanced way to meet these new conditions? Or maybe you've been through a karmic storm and you're orienting on the other side. What does it look like to enter back into the flow of life? Fall is about beginning the inward journey toward winter. This is a time to really take inventory of and gather your resources, physical, emotional, spiritual, for the darker months. It's a time to acknowledge that we're no longer in summer, that we're no longer in this fast-paced external energy, but we're in this more quiet, internal, soft, introspective energy of winter as we begin to wind down, to coil inwards. And this time, this week even, is an opportunity to say, what do we want to take with us into that spiraling inward? This is also really connected to relationships as we are beginning Libra season as well. And I always feel like the fall equinox is a time of taking inventory, checking in on partnerships, collaborations, friendships, relationships of all kind. Where is there harmony? Where is there imbalance? It's also a time to just honor the cycles, honoring that we need each and every phase of the wheel to be whole, to be complete. I always struggle a little bit in LA this time of year because we don't really get a fall. And I come from a place where we have 4 seasons and it's very distinct and very clear when those seasons begin. Although there's a lot of sort of spectrum energy around it too that we kind of float and flow into each one. But I always remember a specific day when I can just smell fall in the air. And it's not like that here in LA. It might be a little bit subtle. It might not be there at all, but I feel like we just kind of move straight from summer into winter. So I have to kind of build these points of orientation into my life because I'm not getting them from nature in the same way. And that's an incredible practice for all of us. And I, of course, love Libra season. I am a Libra. I love this season. We've had some pretty rough Libra seasons over the last few years. We had eclipses in Libra season for 3 years. We had a lot of Plutonian energy with Pluto squaring Libra over the last 15 years. So every Libra season, we had the sun squaring Pluto at a certain point since 2008. And I think now we can actually really land in some of this Libran energy and just sort of feel the beauty of it. Libra is the archetype of balance, harmony, beauty, justice. And the shift from Virgo into Libra is from self-purification to relational equilibrium. Virgo refined the self through discernment. Libra asks, how do you bring that refined self into balance with others, into your relationships? Libra is not just about keeping the peace. It's about aligning with right relationship, truth, fairness, reciprocity. We need that more than ever. Libra's evolutionary goal is to relate, to experience itself reflected in the other. There's a really heavy evolutionary focus on relativity. At this point in the zodiac, we begin to focus on the other rather than only the self. Virgo is so purifying. We really get clear in Virgo season on the self. When we enter Libra, it's more about how do we move out of the self and into right relationship with another or others. And I always think that Libra is sort of like the nervous system of the zodiac. It's always taking in data and info, computing the best outcome for all, whatever will keep the equilibrium. It's testing many different things and landing in one space. And we know peace is not inherent. It's earned through practice and intention. Balance is a practice. Balance is not an end goal. It's something we have to maintain and tend. It's something that we have to show up for and choose. And we need to go out of balance to find our balance again. Peace is not a destination. It's something we cultivate. And we cultivate it through practice, through meeting the discomfort so that we can have moments of peace. As a Libra, especially in the 12th house, Libra Sun and Mercury, something I'm always feeling is just this deep, deep, deep craving for peace. I just want peace. I say that all the time when I'm in my worst moments. It's like, I just want peace, as if it's this destination or this place, this utopian place that I just land in and live and exist within. But peace is something that we choose. It's something we show up for. It's something we practice. It's something we embody. And it only comes through radical self-awareness, through capacity, through meeting our edges and saying, I see you, and that's okay. Let's find a moment or a pocket of peace together. We have to create a peaceful space within us. We have to create a center point. Otherwise, we are chasing peace forever and we'll never find it. And Libra is initiatory too. It's a cardinal sign, so it begins a new season. It's exploratory. It's always testing outcomes and relationships. It's showing us how we can learn how to give and not just take. Its shadow is that it can be unhinged, flighty, indecisive, uncommitted in its search for the other. The imbalanced and overwhelmed, trying to find balance, dissociated, fragmented, people-pleasing, self-abandoning. It's when we lose our own center and try to seek something in the other where we lose our balance. And I do think that this Libra season, it'll be sprinkled with some intensity, of course, will be a bit of a respite, a place to land, a place to integrate, to sort of sort through the remains of this karmic storm, eclipse season. This is an integration season, an integration month. Can you find the balance between challenging yourself, meeting these edges, entering fear, working through chaos, and finding pockets of peace within that as well? We need to be resourced in order to help others to resource. We need to be able to put our life jacket on and tend to our own center before going out and rescuing others. Something I'm seeing a lot of right now is this very deep subconscious feeling that we need to rescue everyone else. And a whole lot of dysregulated, triggered people operating from pure fear, going out and doing it. And they're doing it in ways that are dangerous and hateful and quite scary. And it just doesn't work that way. That just spreads more fear, more dysregulation. Co-regulation, which is the highest expression of Libra, is when one person can be the anchored, regulated space for another to meet them there. But two dysregulated people can't meet in that coherence. So if you are running around, spreading information, sharing things on social media, reacting to people from a dysregulated space, you're actually becoming what you're opposed to. And this is not judgment. This is just reflection. And the thing about Libra season is that we're going to get a whole lot of reflection because we learn through the other. We learn through the reflection in another or in many others. And we learn through being able to meet our own reflection, our own shadow in that space. This Libra season is probably also going to just illuminate these opposites even more, these poles, because we need to be able to recalibrate and come back to some sort of anchored center. Not everyone, people can be on the poles, they can be at the extremes. We will always have those people. And doesn't mean they're wrong, it doesn't mean they're bad, it just means that they're part of society. But when large groups of people start to travel to the poles, it starts to get really heavy, weighted, scary. And that's where we are. So I encourage you to really focus on self-regulation, co-regulation this month. Look at what you've learned over the last month. Let it download and integrate and marinate. Mars moves from Libra into its home sign of Scorpio on the 22nd as well. And the intensity might deepen. This is Mars empowered, focused, strategic. It's going to bring up more shadow work, more opportunity for transformation and transmutation. Mars moving into Scorpio after the Virgo solar eclipse is pushing us to think more, to go deeper, to perhaps dive a little bit deeper, to do more research, to sit with your anger, where you hold fear, to move it, to move your body. Mars and Scorpio can be quite reactive, and we want to really lean into the Libran energy to get some rebalancing, to be able to sense and feel a little bit practicality and rationality. We're moving from the season of expression and heightened illumination, light, sun, into more depth, more decay, more preparation for the death portal of winter. Mars and Scorpio is sort of guiding us there. It's preparing our systems for that process. But there's so much beauty here. There's so much opportunity to just let your system soften and settle. I will continue to preach and come back to the small, simple practices that orient and ground you, what we learned through Virgo season, through this eclipse portal, taking what really worked for you into this next season, creating very, very, very healthy and precise boundaries, energetic, emotional, verbal boundaries, and being so discerning with what you're consuming. Food, news, media, content. Even with this, take what resonates, let go of what doesn't. This is not meant to be the one truth. This is meant to be a collaborative reflection. And I hope in some ways it can activate something within you. So this is the week ahead. I am very much looking forward to Libra season. I've said this probably 300 times already on this podcast, but I also love the fall equinox. And I think that there's a lot of power in this process of preparing for winter, leaning into fall, really letting this process, this season, have its way with us. As with everything right now, the medicine is surrender, faith, trust, deeper, deeper, deeper. I think healing is truly a perfect balance of faith, trust, surrender, belief, and action, but aligned action. And I think aligned action comes from faith. So we can see this Piscean and Virgo axis getting activated, and it is going to guide us through the next 2 years as well. So thank you for being here. I wanted to mention 2 things before I go into the card pull, 2 things that have supported me so much in my total nervous system reset over the last month. One is Kamana, the coffee alternative that I use and I love so much. I've tried a lot of them. I can't do caffeine or stimulants right now, and really caffeine just doesn't work for me in general. It's taken a while to figure that out, but Kamana is mesquite pods that are ground into this really nice, sweet, nutty powder. It works perfectly in a French press and a pour over. You can make it like coffee, which I love because it's the ritual. It's mineral rich. It's high in magnesium, potassium, calcium. It's also low glycemic fiber, so it helps to balance blood sugar, which has been key for me over the last month. It also just tastes really good. I blend collagen into it and it feels like a latte, and I just love it. I make it in a French press. It is my morning beverage, and it also, I can have it throughout the day, which I love too, because sometimes I just loved that afternoon coffee, even though my adrenals hated it. And this has been a beautiful replacement where I can have that fun afternoon beverage. I'm also working on creating a healthy pumpkin spice latte using pumpkin, the spices, and a little monk fruit, which is delicious as well. I have Kamana linked. You can get 15% off with my discount code. And the other thing I've been leaning on heavily over the last month, but I've used it for 2 years now, is my Loom Box, the red light therapy device. It has red and near infrared light that provides mitochondrial support. It reduces inflammation, improves blood flow. It really helps with my circadian rhythm balancing. I've had cortisol dysregulation over the last month that I haven't had before. And it can really activate parasympathetic, which is really, really helpful when you're in fight or flight or when you're moving through a reset of your nervous system. So that, in conjunction with a lot of the tools and practices that I have and some really beautiful support with my different somatic teachers, I've found a lot more balance. The red light box, Loom Box, I have linked as well. You get a huge discount with my affiliate link. I've had a lot of beautiful feedback. It's small. I can travel with it. I can literally carry it in my purse. So when I've been going through this, I just have it in my purse, and I can quite literally use it in the car when I'm sitting outside of somewhere waiting for an appointment or when I'm at home. So it's a great device. If you've been looking for a good red light device, this is it. And I'd like to move into the card pull because it feels very appropriate for Mars moving into Scorpio, and it is the Wolf card. It's all about awakening your wildness. Wolf is a maternal ancestor from a loyal breed. Her unapologetic wildness is the result of always being tuned into the subtle understanding of her instinctual impulse to survive. She's unimpeded by external forces. She trusts her own sharp temperament and mind and is inspired by the ritualistic aspect of the hunt. Wolf guides you to awaken your wildness. It's time to unblock your whole imitable and untamed self. Immerse your body in water. Let it dry in the sunshine. Engage in conversation with loved ones. Harmonize in song, stargaze, dance, welcome new ideas. What you lose in productivity will make up for in the revival of dormant instincts that will guide you to make efficient, powerful choices. Nurture what your ancestral guides have instilled in you and trust the process. A journey into your free, authentic self awaits. When it's balanced, you feel keen, wise, and purposeful. When it's imbalanced, you might feel blocked, muted intuition. To bring into balance, become witness to the relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind. Cultivate the relationship between your mind, body, and spirit. So, thank you for being here. I think this week will be an opportunity for all of us to bring through the practices that we've cultivated through Virgo season and learn how to really integrate and balance them, to invite them into our lives and to let them be a resource for when things get out of balance again, which they inevitably will, especially with this energy. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always meeting these edges with me and listening and taking it in and having an open mind. As a Libra, I love that nothing more. We need open-mindedness. We need dialogue and challenges, and all of it's so important to move forward as a species, as a culture, as a society. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, and I will see you next week.